So, my Heavenly Tea viewers and Gnostic, this is a special interview with Nicola Farmer, who has worked for many years with children in a very particular, special way. I'm not going to give everything away yet. It's something that most people probably just won't believe. You can feel it, you can witness it, and then you'll understand it. I read about what Nicola does years ago, and it was being practiced by some other people in some other countries. And it was, thrilling to come across Nicola and realize that here she has been working in this very special field with children. And perhaps on that rather mysterious introduction, can I hand it over to you, Nicola, and just in a few words explain what you specifically do?
Fantastic, thank you. Yes, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, so thank you for inviting me. What do I do? So I created a modality to work with children that's not unique to a degree because, as you said, there are other countries using this. However, the modality is there for children to learn and grow in ways that the educational systems don't offer. And that is for them to grow with their, what we call outer consciousness. So the result of the modality is that children have the ability to be able to read with a blindfold on, and not just read, but do everything in their everyday lives without the use of their eyes, but they're using their, what I like to call their supervision. And for me, that is the greatest gift we can give.
The internet has just stopped. I should have conditioned my computer and internet before, and I didn't. So we will now.
Okay, so the greatest gift we can give these children is the ability to know exactly who they are, to go through life with confidence and self-esteem that is practically untouchable, to give them the opportunity to really delve into their heart desire, but most of all, allowing them to remember who they are, not just as children, not just as human beings, but as this whole level of consciousness that unfortunately I see that the education system numbs down and even disables in certain ways. And it's a beautiful gift we can give to children.
I'm so delighted that you have found parents who resonate with this, because that's always the trick, isn't it? Children will come to you naturally in droves, but without the permission and the acceptance and understanding of the parents, you can't do a thing. So how beautiful that you've managed to attract these families to you. I call this, that you work with, human soul technology. And
Yes,
I'm probably one of the few people that just keeps on going on about all of this the entire full soul being expressed and having access to it for children. You know, the Laura Eisenhowers of this world have been banging on about it, activating our full DNA for a long time. But we need to really discuss and present all this beautiful evidence now of working with the full essence of the being.
You know, you say about activating the full DNA, but these children's DNA is fully active. What we're doing is aligning them with all of their layers of consciousness, from, who they are as a human being, aligning with their inner child, their higher self, their spirit, their soul, consciousness, and the creator energy. And there's so many missing links in adults, mainly being the inner child, actually. So taking these children at this age and giving them permission to be themselves, and then aligning them with that wholeness, there's nothing like it. It's just amazing to see, and how these children unfold with it.
But that's the key, isn't it? It's the permission. As you said, they come in and they're whole, they're complete. And then, endless filters and barriers and blockades, and then false beliefs get placed in, and they become sort of enthralled in a false reality. And then the poor old adults, they get to somewhere like 40. It's like, what is reality? There must be something else. And then they seek endlessly their spirit again. Whereas I always say, well, hello, maybe we should just start with the children and say, yes, here you are, amazing soul. Let's just give you the environment in which you can fully express and blossom. So I loved that term you used of essentially the unshakability in their sense of self. Now, I know that. Could you just expand that? Because I think that's a very beautiful, important piece, because that carries through to your entire life and other lives.
Absolutely, as well. That unshakability is when we see the children grow through the program, and let me make it clear, not all children actually see blindfolded. And the blindfolded seeing is like the cherry on the top of the cake. But the process the children go through is like this magical gift of praising them and giving them that sense of well-being. And the unshakability comes where they know what they want. They know who they are. They completely understand that they are as important as everybody else. But they're not precocious with it. They're not, super saints. They're still kids. They're still, can be naughty and fun and, all the things that a kid is as a regular kid. But they have this steadfast inner knowing that they can do or be anything. But as ICU teachers, we have no attachment to outcome with these children. We take them through the program. It's a bit like taking a child to learn to swim or do gymnastics or something, and the teacher takes them through these steps of learning how to swim or how to swing on ropes or something. And then when the child has finished that training, they go off and do their own thing. Does the swimming teacher ring you like 6 months later and say, oh, has your child been swimming? What's he or she doing? And we are the same with these kids, because we take them through a stage in their life and then we set them free.
Yeah. Yeah. So this unstructured quality is really important. I want to go into a few of your processes as well. From my experience, the way I work is so similar in terms of, process and expression, expansion, space to be who you are. Let's see if I can I just distracted myself. Let's pull that back. Hang on.
Bring it round on the loop.
Yes, bring it round in the loop, just sewing that little tight. I've got like 5 thoughts going because I'm excited. Let's just go here. Okay, so the extrasensory perceptions that we're talking about, we call them still, extrasensory perceptions, because they sort of expand beyond these 5 ordinary senses. And then the imagination, which of course is part of that. We place things in little neat Saturnian boxes, and imagination belongs here and this belongs there. And yes, as you said, teachers and school structure mean we have an aim and it's an exam and you must do until you get there. Whereas the way you work, the way I work is this, who are you? Shall we find out? Do you want to find out who you are? And all you're doing essentially is this witness, maybe opening a little bit, expanding with a bit of inspiration. Basically, you are the holder of the prepared state of being. And that is a very radical thing for most people, because even 10 years ago, people were saying, that's chaos, it'll bring chaos. They didn't have any trust in the soul, that there was purpose, there was almost like a map of unfolding tendencies. There was a beautiful structure in there. So when you work with your children, how does that sort of flow into that process of them coming and being with you and then eventually leaving?
Well, when the kids come for the first session, it's quite odd, really, because we have very minimal conversations with them. So they come in and they sit down and you just briefly explain to them what they're going to be doing. And then on goes the blindfold and straight into the session. And we have this activation process that the kids go through. And it's just like it's like doing a physical meditation, if you like. There's things that they do. And then you just sit them down and you hold a space for them to do what they need to do. Although we're guiding them through the process, tell me a colour, point to the colour, explain that to me. But the main principles of the session is we don't use the words yes or no. We hold a space of love. We never ever ask them a question. And we praise them solidly for an hour.
Now that's interesting. You never ever ask them a question. What is your purpose in that one? That's interesting.
Because if I say to you, Isabel, how are you? Your left brain has to find a logical answer or a perceptual answer. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I say to you, tell me, Isabel, how you've been, it can come straight from the right brain.
Yeah, for me, that's a question.
Yes, but it's not.
Okay, so we're talking about a type of question. Yes.
But if you wrote "tell me how you feel" on a question mark, there wouldn't. On a piece of paper, there wouldn't be a question mark at the end. It's a command.
All right. Okay. Yes. I mean, it's both, isn't it? Because it's you requiring information. So that's the command, but it's also that is symbolic of question too. But yes, I get that. I mean, I work in an expectational field. I have an expectation that every child coming to me will be able to be their full self because I know that's who they are. So that's my way of that. It's like an assumed access, isn't it, essentially?
Right. Yeah. So we have no expectations of the children. Zero.
So I think we're misinterpreting words here. So it's fascinating. Maybe. It's really important because expectations are always seen as negative in our Saturnian world. So same as questions. So what I mean by expectation is I see you as a whole soul being. That is my expectation.
So for me, that's what I would use the word, that's my vision.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's important, isn't it? Because when we have, beautiful beings, yourself, and I'm doing this work and I inspire as many people as I can, we must build these bridges because, as you know, the world is structured on, cutting and dividing. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And language is so important, especially with the children, because if we approach this as if it's an extracurricular activity that is associated with education, then we just don't get anywhere with them. If we take it that it's a program where they're going to have fun and experience different parts of themselves, no expectations, no obligations, and no attachment to outcome, we're literally holding a space for that child to be themselves, completely themselves. And that's what doesn't happen in mainstream education or in life generally. So by not asking them a question, we're giving them the opportunity to come from, if we want to call it, their spirit, their soul, their higher self. We're giving them that opportunity to align with another part of them that doesn't have to involve any logic or perception.
So this is where it's really important, isn't it? In this world that we're currently still in the structure of those of us who are awake and active in that process. We are highlighting the structure to others. Did you know you're living in many boxes, chaining you tight and pressing you, squeezing you? So we're highlighting and we're actively dismembering them and presenting the alternative, which essentially is an energetic field of possibility. And so as you were talking, I'm seeing the sort of, closed, almost like Russian dolls, but as cubes, boxes. And then otherwise you've just got this endless, infinite field of energy in any kind of vibrational access. And this is where people were trained to have fear of that, and to trust the prison, the Stockholm syndrome. So I'm sure you bump up against that in some of the adults? How do you work with that? Because probably it does happen sometimes when the child is then, sort of talking to their grandmother who's passed and saying, oh, do you know, I had this chat with the dog. All of their gifts of normality, of true correspondence with essence, with energy comes through. And I'm sure it gives some of the parents the heebie-jeebies because it's pushed them over the barrier. How do you work with that?
It doesn't happen very often, actually,
Yeah.
because the parents of these children are fully aware of what their child's potential is. But you'll get some adults, like you'll get one mother, the mother that's on board, the father that isn't, and then the father is the skeptic and the one who questions everything and wants to check the blindfold and all of those things. However, the parents are our biggest challenge, in as much that they're almost wanting to live their life through the child's experience, or the parents are too pushy for the children. If the child doesn't see consciously, which means able to read a book blindfolded, then the parents are like, well, what am I paying this money for? And things like that. So they are our biggest challenge. And also, getting the parents to practice with the children at home is pretty difficult as well. So it's not that the parents butt up against it, it's just that they want their child to do this, and they're not completely on board with what we would require them to do as well.
Yeah.
We get some parents, I've experienced it myself, where they bring their child to you because they want you to fix their child. And you kind of take the child through the program. I'm not fixing the child, I'm aligning the child with their true self. But the energetic knock-on effect of that is that the dynamic of the family can change. So the parent thinks you fix their child, but actually the child's energy, excuse me, has energetically changed that dynamic. So the children are a dream to work with. The parents, not all of them, but some of them are pretty challenging.
Yeah, so I would love to go back into, I know I interrupted you because you were showing the flow, but these loops are beautiful, I find too. It's a miracle, and I suspect you say this to yourself most days, that you exist doing the work you do without, support by an education authority or something. I mean, the way I managed it was I disguised it as performing arts. Because, of course, you have to have emotional intelligence, you have to have fine perception, and you are very much allowed and encouraged to have endless imagination. So that's where I was able to do my work.
Yeah.
But you are not. So can you sort of just tell us a little bit of that story, the miraculous enablement for you as your being, your spirit, able to sort of carve this space in our crazy world? So that, you're one of the forerunners, bringing in this awareness. It's very important.
Isabel, the key thing for me that holds the space for the children is I quite frankly don't care what anybody thinks of me. And I had to do a lot of my own development, go through multiple healing crises and all of those sorts of things to get to this point. And I don't fear the possible consequences of this, etc., etc. So for me, there's nothing to hide. It's out there, the book's out there. It's there for anybody to see, to read. There's enough videos online, etc. I just know, and I hold it in my heart every single day, the magic when you see a child go through that program, even if it was just one child in the whole world, and you see them transform, even if it's this much, that's enough. Because it doesn't take an army of children to change this world. And I say to all the teachers that I train, and this is worldwide, it's not the quantity of children that we reach, it's the quality of love that we share with them that will change this world. And there is nothing else. So my day-to-day life, when I'm dealing with the ICU program, is my total trust and knowing that the children need this as a basic, fundamental basic of their lives, that they can then go forward and say, this is who I am.
Yeah. No, it's
And there
thank
is
you.
nothing else.
Thank you so much, because I I don't know about you, but I have felt like I have not just felt like I have been lone wolf, for decades. And as you, I'm sure, will also know in your experience, people who, let's say, should, people who should understand or resonate with, because they are talking some talk, just can't see or perceive what you're bringing, because yeah, we've been programmed into the boxes, and that means intellectual surface streaming rather than the deep allowance of the full soul.
Yeah.
So you know all of these different blocks, and the lone wolf self. The beautiful thing is, as people like yourself say, basically what I heard was, I have no fear.
That's it.
That's it, isn't it? And that is the magic. That is the, I've just got whole body tingles as I say that, as we're talking too, because that is the door to open everything. That is the Moses parting of the sea. And the fact that now, I would love you to talk about your book. There's so many things I'd like to go into with you. But this is this time now, because of where you are and the sort of wealth you can draw from, you're starting to train others. My book, The Speaking House, about New Earth education, is just, it's writing it as is, as though it's already existing, because of course it does, just a little down the road. And the teachers, they go through a process like you, the way you're training, that's, that's who they are. So this is amazing that we're now at this time that we can talk about this. So I'd love to go into your book in a moment, but could we just go back a little bit to you as a child? Because there will have been magic in you then, and knowing in you then. Can you tell us some sort of, the sort of silver thread through, it's always synchronistic. There are no coincidentals without true meaning. I bet there were some magical moments of pure knowing as a child who and what you are.
Okay.
Would you like to share one or two of those?
Well, there wasn't actually. So as a child, I mean, I had a beautiful childhood, and my sister and I grew up in a very sort of fun environment until she got very sick. And my sister died when she was 8 years of age, and I was sort of coming up for 9. And no, I was coming up for 10. And I believe my passion and compassion for the children come from the trauma of my childhood more than the magic of my childhood. Yes, there were magical moments, but my childhood was dominated by Sarah dying and me becoming very invisible to my parents because they were in a huge state of grief, understandably. And I felt that's when I became pretty much a people pleaser. And just to be seen, to have that same sort of comfort feeling within the family dynamic, which just disappeared literally overnight. Now, as I went through my adulthood and my spiritual awakening, etc., and things, how they happen, I sat with my spirit team one day and I said, I need to understand all of this, because it was a tough time. I know I've grown from it. I know I understand it to a degree, but I need to know the whole story. And they said to me, good, because the time's right. Now, I'll cut this very short because it was a very long conversation with consciousness. But basically, they said at that point in my life, it could have gone 2 ways. The way it went, or an alternative way, which would have been worse. And I just laughed and I said, worse? I said, it couldn't have been any worse than it was. And they said, oh, yes, absolutely, it could have been. And I said, okay, so explain it to me. And they said, well, the way your life went was basically you were set free to become you. And I said, but that was an enormously painful route. And they said, yes, but the other route was more painful. So I said, right, I need to know the other route. And they said to me that the alternative route through my life would be that my parents had gone into fear of the same thing happening to me.
Oh, you would have been completely captured.
Totally suffocated by it. Likely that their fear would have created this enormous fear in me, and I could be dead now as well.
Yeah.
So I was set free at the age of 10 to grow through life on my own 2 feet, to understand who I am to a degree, but to carry the pain of everything that happened. Now, if I look back at that, and, you know, so much healing has happened. And in fact, my sister's one of my, you know, helpers from the other side. But if I look at that now, it's my desire for the children is not to prevent that from happening, because we have soul paths and we have to honor those, especially with the ICU program. You know, we can't force a child to see, because if it's not part of their soul path, then we have to honor that. But what I see now with the children more than anything is that we have to gift them the ability to understand themselves, regardless of what happens in their family dynamic, in their social dynamic, or their educational system. Because we can't prevent pain, we can't prevent suffering, but we can enable understanding.
And the phrase that came to me is you're presenting the strength of freedom.
Totally.
And that has been completely buried from us, hasn't it?
Exactly. Especially the children's spirit.
Yeah.
We could talk about the etheric spirit. We could have talked about the emotional spirit, the mental spirit, the spiritual spirit. I don't care what it is. But these children are bound by antiquated systems that don't allow them to be freely themselves.
Let's just jump forward a little bit into the book, because, yes, have you got it? Just so you can hold it up. I'll get a lovely screenshot and put it in as well. Because you actually published this very recently, didn't you, Nicola?
It was in April this year, and I wrote it in a month.
Yeah, well, of course you would, because it was already gestated.
Yeah.
When I've done all these different works and developed them, I've found bridges, because, as I said, I was working in a system, you know, in a school.
Yeah.
And for me, it was too dangerous to just be independent. I didn't have those strengths because of what had happened with me.
Yeah.
So I found all these different bridges. For example, contact improvisation. You have enormous skills of perception of distance, and there are many different exercises where you have your eyes shut. Japanese Buto dancing, I did a lot of that, where you become the spirit of the bird, of the tree, of the wind. And so you are training yourself to have this quantum entanglement with different essence. So we have movement, we have perception, we have expression, and, you know, endless different things like that. So that was my way to sort of build these bridges without making it weird, you know. Yes. So I got over the weirdness in order to bring through these sparks to enliven the children.
Yeah.
And this sort of how we bring this into the world is very, very much in the forefront of my mind. Yes. So you've just sort of described how, through your fearlessness and your rigorous healing, this sort of demand for clarity of your inner life, that's what sort of enabled you to sort of part these waves and push through, and, well, not no kind of aggressive push through, I just mean progress through and expand your work. And so now you got to the stage of, you know, April, there you wrote the book, and the book is now in the world, because we're at this sort of catch fire time where the sparks can start to spread. I feel that a lot could be happening just between now and, yeah, well, a lot will be happening between now and 2027. But even, you know, the next 6 months, this sort of spark, and we have been so hidden and oppressed. Yeah. What do you, I think I want you to sort of talk a little bit future prediction through your book. What did you write it for? What was the vision, purpose you knew that was going to achieve, create?
Okay. My ultimate vision for the book, for the work, is to get it integrated into mainstream education. But there had to be a simple, basic knowledge out there that wasn't seen as being woo-woo. Yes, it can be, but when I train the teachers, I give them 4 explanations on how to promote the work, basically, spiritually, educationally, and scientifically. So it can cover all genres of life. But I know that this needs to get into the schools, and it is only the ability to work one-on-one with the children. But I know someone will pick this up at some point and say, we need to explore this. And I know the route into mainstream education is going to take by taking children who are challenged at school, educationally, emotionally, and mentally, take them through the program and take them from 0 to whatever they achieve, to show the schools that this works for all types of children. But I know it will be the children that are challenged that will show the greatest difference. I've worked with children who have been behind in their reading ages, low in confidence, and they've exceeded educational expectations. One boy was 2.5 years behind his reading age. He had dyspraxia, and he caught up in his reading age in 6 weeks.
Yes. I know this. I received all the children with the labels. I don't like labels because it's a nonsensical box as well. It's like, let's have a slice of your cake instead of the whole being. But and of course, because you're seeing them in their full light rather than through this horribly tinted label, suddenly you get the blossoming because they feel expanded and they feel loved. This bridging, I've just been offered a job which I'm going to be taking up, working in senior schools, which is not something I've done yet. I just worked with the children 2.5 to 13 primarily. And I feel that this, again, they say the same thing. The ones I'm going to be working with in music and drama are all of those who fall through because they have something stirring in their being that cannot accept the fluorescent square-boxed classroom of 30 people droning. And this is the challenge to transform. And at the same time, there we go. I've got my 770-page book. I want you to read it. I hope you might. I've got the first draft. When I get it a little bit neater, I'd like to send it over to you, because your book would be a perfect teacher training manual as part of that development of the people who are going to set up these new kind of schools. But I can see now, it's so clear, piece by piece, stepping stones. And as everything falls apart, which it is happening right now, in chaos in this country, we are building little bridges across the gaps. Fast forward, let's go to next year. What do you see?
Next year, well, you may not like this, but I see more of the same. However, the bridges are being built. And I don't feel the chaos has reached its peak yet. I think we've got probably another year of chaos. However, what's happening behind the scenes in what a lot of us are working towards on an etheric level, that bridge, there's one bridge that's being built right now, and that, let me go back a little bit. So we've got a percentage of the world population who have woken up and who are delving into alternatives. And we've got another percentage of the world that is still fast asleep and, can't see past the end of their nose. And a void opened up between the two, a massive void. And it got so wide that the people on the asleep side, it was becoming almost impossible for them to go onto the awake side. And that's been happening for a long time. Then very, very recently, I was guided to share that the bridge is being built between over the void right now.
Well, I think we're having a lot of help from
Absolutely.
all dimensions and entities.
Absolutely. And on the awake side, there's a lot of us that are not just helping build the bridge, we're holding it up and we're guiding people across it.
Yeah.
And so the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing with the children and with adults, because, you know, there's other programs with adults, but we're helping build that bridge. Now, the other challenge is that on the awake side, there was a void opening between the awake and the awake.
Yeah.
So on the awake side, we've got this void opening, and it's between the people that have that understand that there's more to life than going to work and paying bills, etc., etc. And they've started to explore, or they are developing explorations for others to explore on the spiritual side, the etheric side. Now, the void that's opening up on that side is because we've got those who are continuing to evolve, to learn, to grow, to develop, etc., and those that are stuck doing what they started 10, 12, 15 years ago. And there is a place for them. So it's not a judgment of them. There is a place, because there's always those new people that need, like, the basics.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what they're teaching or what they're sharing. But what the challenge is they're not evolving themselves.
Do you find, I find with that group, because they're so well established, you know, whatever they did, often they're teaching a system that they've learned from someone. They've been on a course, a very thorough course, several years, whatever, you know, the Dolores Cannon set, as it were. I actually can't listen to her, which is fascinating, because I always think, why can't I? Because my soul wants to hear it through a different voice. You know, it does. I don't actually like the frequency of her voice, which is fascinating. But you have all these amazingly trained beings, people, and they keep their set, and they're in the sort of limelight of that alternative, and they sense it. They sense what's happening, because people like yourself and myself, probably with these massive healing mountains to move, because of the clarity and purity and intensity of what we're bringing through. We had to kind of have the full, oh, let's just rip you apart so that you can put yourself back together properly. And I think there is a sense of threat, because last year, 2 years ago even, I was so puzzled. People who should be championing the things I do and say, and I would, interact with them as much as possible, and always lovingly and expansively. And it was so bizarre that it was like I was back in my first year of primary school, where, Mummy, why doesn't this girl why is she sometimes nice and sometimes not? And I had to kind of compute what they were. They're afraid. What are they afraid of? Yeah. Because suddenly when you get to the state of no fear, and you are there and you are seen, then you become the threat. The whole Saturnian box is just shut her down, algorithms close it down, all kinds of amazing, interesting things happen. But also with that in between, I find that various fields and fences. Now, for me, the secret is, of course, it's always just love self, love other, be in that state and accept and see as wide and broad as possible. What do you come across anything like that? And what do you do about it? Yeah.
Okay. I don't very often anymore. I used to, but I just stepped out of the concept, and right now, what I find is that we don't even have time for the fluff anymore.
Yeah.
It's not about love and light. It's not about, the chakras, the crystals. I've got hundreds of crystals, you can see. And they're there because I love them. But it's not about how many crystals can I go and buy, how many spiritual books can I have on my shelves. This is about the real stuff. No fluff stuff. It's got to be real. And many people would say, what is real? And for me, my real is my truth, my authenticity, my integrity, without prejudice.
And that is just the state of non-fear.
That's exactly what it is.
The state of non-fear.
Yeah, absolutely it is. But getting other people to that point is that, they're still hanging on. I even created a modality on how to retrain the ego. And it's
because it's been demonized as well, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Pushed in one direction, blown up beyond crazy. And then if you're not of that camp, then suddenly it's the most evil thing. So, no, it's a very important tool.
Well, it is, because it's our survival instinct. That's what it was created for in the first place, for humanity to survive. But what I created for people was a very simple method in how to retrain it and become its friend.
Yeah.
Because if the spirit and the ego work together, you're not going to end up with consequences in life. You're going to end up with outcomes.
Yes, and can you just explain the dynamics? Because I know you know them, otherwise you couldn't say that sentence, but just to sort of fill that out.
I can. If we follow the route of fear, anxiety, worry, doubt, we are always going to be dealing with consequence after consequence after consequence. Okay, and consequences in themselves put you in a self-perpetuating cycle of fear or anxiety.
And do you know what I would see with that, as you say, because it's fascinating. I love it when I talk to certain people, I get whole sort of three-dimensional images. So when you're saying consequence after consequence, because you've got fear in the system, it's pulling things from what exists as barriers and obstructions. Whereas if you come from the fearlessness, you're just in pure creation mode. So there's no barrier to overstep or remove. The consequences aren't there. You just have the completion. Yeah,
because the saying, what you resist persists. That's the cycle of consequence. If we then retrain the ego to be the friend of you and your spirit, then the spirit will take you through a route that you may not expect, you may not desire, but it will take you to a positive outcome, even if it's not how you want it to be, but it's the greatest opportunity to learn and grow. And that's what the spirit will take us down. The ego will stop us in our tracks. You'll not learn anything from the ego other than what fear means, or worry or doubt or anxiety. But the greatest learning curve for us is to follow the spirit, be guided by it, and deal with what is ahead of us or what's in front of us in the moment without that fear, because it's going to give us the opportunity to grow, to evolve.
Now, in your book, how do you present that in the book? Because obviously it's for adults, isn't it? I would say.
The book is for adults to read, but it's to give them an idea of what the potential is, or the probability or possibility for their child. By taking the ICU Academy program, they will have the opportunity to avoid the necessity to retrain the ego in adulthood.
So you probably know the Anastasia books, the Ringing Cedars.
Oh, I have them.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I see them behind the angel. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 to 10 or whatever. And you remember she talked to some of the early conversations were about, but Vladimir, the way I'm speaking to you, it has a cadence, it has a code, it has energetic imprint. So that when you write it down like that, it's not just the words people are hearing. It's like unlocking all of these structures within their consciousness so that they can then actually perceive more truly. And I feel that your book is probably, did you feel as you were writing it was something like that, with this sort of embedded resonance of opening the adult, the permission slip, as Bashar uses that term?
Let me tell you how this book was written. During the pandemic, I did a book writing course with this guy online. And the one thing that resonated with me, and the one thing I took away from that whole course, was the white noise between the words. And so, if you like, the book's encoded with a frequency, but that frequency is set between every single word in the book. And the frequency is set with my intention for the outcome of this book, not with an attachment to it, but for people to not only read it, but they can feel the noise between the words, the white noise. And so what you read and what you take in with the words is this much compared to what is vibrationally encoded into the book.
So let's expand on that, because that's very important. You know, people will give that, the white noise between the words, many different terms that sort of fill it out. You know, the quantum field, the morphogenetic field, the expectational field, the intention, the power of thought, the power of consciousness. This is, the experiments done with the music industry since the 50s of inserting frequencies so that you would be influenced in certain ways and people having no awareness. So we're talking about these very important things, which in our not so very far future, we'll actually be able to read them, not just with kinesiology and charts and things with a pendulum, but we will actually have instruments to be able to perceive and measure this, the white noise between the words, the very subtle, fine. So again, you're building a bridge. Just sort of expound on what I said in terms of your book.
Okay.
I think this is so important for people to feel, to give them permission to do it too, and to take seriously. And again, it's this bridging, so important.
Yeah. My dream would be for someone to pick up this book, hold it, and know what they need to do next.
Yes.
I have all these books, behind me. I haven't read all of them. I probably read 1% of them, but I don't need to read them. I can go to any book, pick it up, and get something from that book without even reading a single word.
Yes. Now, my man, I cannot still reveal his name because of protection, but he often talks about how he was inspired, I don't know how long ago, to sleep on books under his pillow because of that consciousness field. When he really got into the whole quantum science, he understood this, that it's a symbolic gesture of information. It is encapsulated. It's a point in time and space where information energy is anchored. Now, of course, that's what your children are tapping into, isn't it? It's just that allowance. Oh, this door. Yes. Well, actually, there's not even a door. What are you talking about? I just live in this zone.
Yeah, absolutely that. Exactly that. You know, I was in the States in August, and I went to this inaugural Sci Games, and I was very fortunate to meet Thomas Campbell, the author of My Big Toe. And I did a chat I did an interview with him a couple of weeks ago, and he's a quantum physicist, if you don't know who he is, and he has this overwhelming knowledge and information and vibration on how we bring spirituality and science together. Okay. And I talked to him for a long time in that interview, and the whole purpose of us being here, whether we're writing books, whether we're teaching, whether we're mentoring, whether we're just breathing, the whole purpose is for us to be. And if I take any book and it gives me something that enables me to be in that moment, then fantastic, we're winning.
And what do you mean by be? Let's just make this grander.
Okay.
Human being.
Being is absolutely going nowhere. Nowhere at all. And if we break down the word nowhere into two words, it says now, here.
Yeah.
And that's what people, their minds are too far in advance. They're too far in the distance, in the backward distance. Their minds are flitting here, there, and everywhere. And they've got to do this and I've got to do that. But nobody really takes that time just to sit and stare into space.
But this now here moment, the point of zero field consciousness, the place where you, your soul, your individuality, your ego, your personality is in complete concert with the infinite field of creator.
Yes.
That's the infinite potential. That's the place that as you know, the Matrix, they talked about, oh, I'll just download the helicopter pilot thing. It's like, well, you know, that's how I operate. I've got this 3-seater sofa. I've got to get it up this very narrow stairs on the 3rd floor on my own. Oh, well, I just know that some of my spirit knows how to do it, and they'll tell me. I'll sit down and have a cup of tea. Ah, right, pulleys, levers, ropes, dong, start to do it. Because this is our potential, and this is the secret. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Anything we want, you can go and have the book in your shelf.
Yeah.
And when you decide to connect to, yes, how do I do the most extraordinary picnic? And there is the book full of grand ideas. You're literally just linking into this infinite field of information and allowing you to discover it once more through your own vehicle. I mean, there's nothing more thrilling than working in this way. And you go and look in a school. I was there yesterday, and I had to work with some 10 children, teenagers, 14-year-olds, and poor sweethearts, you know, they were just all closed down. And in half an hour to manage to spark up a little bit, hard, of course, because they're in an environment. But that opposite that we're living still, it is so extraordinary, because, well, hello. Don't you know what you've got?
But, you know, it took me a long time to be. And if I was to sit and take 10 minutes for myself and just stare out the window, I would feel guilty for that. But now sitting and staring out of the window gives me more than anything I could do. You know, Anna, who's one of my spirit team, she says to me all the time, you haven't earned the right to be called human beings, so we're just going to call you human doings. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't stop. We don't just relax and be. And for me, you know, if more people did that, they would awaken to so much more than what their eyes and ears can see and hear. Yeah. So much more. But people don't feel that they can do that.
But I mean, we can have endless compassion for that, can't we? I just told a story of my own life. You know, I had my 3rd little child, beautiful little son, and I was trying to finish my PhD. We lived in a beautiful apartment, high up, no garden, you know, nightmare to get up and down, no lifts. And my husband wouldn't work. You know, many nightmare scenarios. And I, for some reason, had enough money to have an au pair to help me to finish that. Yeah. And she sat me down one day and she said, Isabel, this beautiful little short girl from Italy, from one of the poorest areas in Italy where they ate the best. And she said, you need to sit down and do nothing.
That's right.
And that was, you know, like, because of the guilt was overwhelming.
Exactly.
The sense of having to do everything, because I did have to, on a logical basis, do everything, you know, everything.
Absolutely.
Until you realize that is just a system.
Yeah.
And it's, even just a few days ago, I was thinking about money, how we think that, you know, the money, we've given it so much power.
Yeah.
That somehow money is more powerful than spirit. What? You know, hello, money was created from a small little piece of an idea from spirit.
Exactly.
And it's just, we've got everything, as you know, upside down.
I mean, for me, money's energy. Money is an energy exchange. That's all it is, you know. We have, there's this concept about spiritual people that they shouldn't charge for what they're doing, and you know, it's a gift from God, etc., etc. No, I don't think so, because it's not about what we charge, it's about the value other people have for what we give.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to.
So it's your interpretation, your choice, your definition, your intention, your white noise between the words. Yeah. You're holding it in your auric field of presence. This is what money means to me.
Exactly.
That's what people read. That is what people read, because there are infinite definitions of what money means. I mean, to some dastardly beings, it is the definition of control and oppression.
Exactly.
But as it's just an event, it's like a computer can have any kind of information in it. It's just a computer. It can be changed and charged. But that freedom of movement is what your work is reminding people of. It's what my work is reminding people of.
Yeah. Free to be.
Yeah. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you really want to talk about that's kind of come through in this conversation? Because I think it's very
Um,
powerful.
we've talked about the children and the book, but we can't lose sight of the teenagers and adults as well. You know, I also developed a program called Discovering Me for any age child. And this is about them understanding who they are as energetic beings, not just human beings. And that takes them through a whole program of discovery, literally about themselves. And then for the adults, I mean, I've been mentoring, teaching, training adults spiritually for a long time, but I'm just about to launch next year something I've called the School of Luminosity. And it's a program that adults or teenagers, if they want to, they sign up for. I think it's going to be 8 modules, but each module they'll come online for a session. I'll teach them something way beyond spirit, just basic spirituality, you know, like cosmic travel, light language, you know, quantum healing, all those sorts of things. Then they go away for a month, they put it into practice, then they come back and do the next module. And this is where I'm talking about no fluff. You know, we haven't got time to go back to the basics, just all jump in the deep end and start swimming.
Yeah.
You know, you can't dip your toe in.
This is the 100 monkey effect. I mean, it's more than just 100 monkeys, isn't it? It's once, and that's why these kind of conversations, they're lovely, of course. It's lovely for me to hear you and talk with you, you know, wonderful self-indulgence. However, of course, we're sort of flinging it into the field, seeding the field, conditioning the field. Until it becomes completely normal. Yeah. So when I, you know, set up an improvisation with a group of children, they might be only 3 years old. We're going to be looking at the past lives that pop up because they do. That's what happens, and then we heal them, and we do that in a group way because what should we do with this? So cut. Let's stop. Where do we want this story to go? Why? And that's normal for them because it's completely possible, and we just have decided. We've just decided. You know, I started remote healing because of who my love is and his dangerous existence. Oh boy, you know, gunshot wounds and all kinds of things to his friends. And it was like, well, of course I know it's possible. Oh, why don't I do it? Okay, great. Oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
And that's all we actually need. So for the teenagers to have access to this, I'm going to put you in touch with Elizabeth Hancock. Do you know her in England?
No, I don't know her.
You will love her, and her next book is going to be about teenagers and the depression that is being pushed into them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's a beautiful being. I'll send you the link to the interview I did with her. Short, powerful, lovely one.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because I had the contact with those other people that you were talking about, the other group of the awake, and I had to distance myself from those in Britain. And I'm so happy to be finding now again these luminous beings. As we literally we're above the parapet now. We are visible. We are doing what we're doing. We've grown into these trees, and we're going to carry on growing. And it's
absolutely. Anna says to me as well, she said, every human being on earth has earned a PhD in complexity, but what they don't realize is they're supposed to have a PhD in simplicity.
Yes, I saw this mansion, that's the complexity, and then there's this little garden gate. Oh, okay. What?
Which is going to be easier to clean.
Well, you don't even need to clean it, let the moss and the lichen grow on it. Yeah, it looks pretty.
Exactly.
She's like, what? It was that easy? Yeah. Oh, how beautiful. Thank you so much, Nicola. I look forward to talking to you a lot more. Maybe I can send you a draft of my book because you would make an amazing forward if you felt like reading it. But I want to do a little more work on it. When it's that big, it's hard to manage.
Yeah, I can't promise I'll read all of it because my time is like consumed and time doesn't even exist in my world, but you understand what I mean.
No, absolutely, and I would never even expect it, but it's there, as you said, for the bridge to bring all of these pieces of information, as you said, you know, the scientific, the spiritual, the cognitive, the emotional, because even if people just have it under their pillow or on their bookshelf,
absolutely,
it's doing that work.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's a delight. Yes. Yeah, amazing.
Beautiful.
Good. Well,
Any last words before I bid you a fond goodbye?
let me see. You know, the 2 words, be happy. Yeah.
That's a big permission.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I hope to see you soon. And let's talk about maybe some of your training you do for the adults. That would be an amazing subject if you'd like to. Okay.
That would be fabulous. Thank you, Isabel.
My pleasure. Much love to you. Thank
All right.
you.
Bye.
They told you forever so long. Well, I'm here to tell you it's all just a lie. You're really my love, the lead make it cry. I'm eccentric and odd, some would say strange.